Hey everybody, welcome back to Jason's World of Insightful Things. We're going to switch it up a little bit today. And I'm going to give a shout out to Matt from Diesel Creek, as well as Sam from Scrappy Industries. They're some of my favorite people and content creators on YouTube that I follow. And my business for Cornerstone kind of aligns with needing heavy equipment. And lo and behold, here is the New Holland L22 that we picked up from actually close to Matt, up in kind of upper western New York, near Erie, Pennsylvania. I got this from, I believe, what was an Amish person that had a farm and had this skid steer. So I bought it, and Terry, my video associate who's recording today, and myself went up and had the experience of a lifetime bringing this piece of equipment back. It was in a kind of after a snowstorm, and just everything went wrong that could possibly go wrong, from the trailer hitch wires breaking to the axles falling off the trailer because the bolts snapped off, and it was just a mess. But we got it back and there was no damage to the machine, and I actually fixed the trailer back up. So what I want to show you today, I think, is important for any tired skid steer. I can only talk it because this is right now the only tired skid steer I have. I don't have a tracked skid steer. But what we're going to be doing is, over the course of time, basically, just like my friends I mentioned earlier, we're going to build this thing back up. So it's got about 8,000 hours on it. And today's little episode is going to be about building the drives and the hubs back up. So if you follow me over here, we have basically a destroyed axle shaft. The bearing ground down into nothing. When I bought this, after I got it home, of course, I noticed the back tire was a little cocked inward and it looked different than the other three. So that raised some suspicion. So I had to do a bunch of other things. This is a brand new, almost $800 shaft. And what's the difference is this ground down into nothing. This little rim right here is where the outer hub seal, axle shaft seal sits. And without it, it's going to be an absolute disaster because all the dirt is going to get inside, the oil is going to go outside, and that's how that's going to be. I didn't want to start the episode with basically just showing you taking the stuff apart. It's kind of common sense, as I said in my last video with the heat exchangers. It's basically taking off the bolts. There's an inner hub sprocket drive gear that goes onto this chain. This shaft right here is the main left drive shaft, so it drives two chains, an inner and an outer, that run these wheels. So today's episode is going to show you basically putting the bearings back together, all the little doodads that go into it, and basically showing you how to get this thing rocking and rolling so I can get it out of the garage. So stay tuned. The next operation is we're going to clean and assemble the hub seal assembly, and we'll get going on this. See you in 5. Okay, we're back. So I'm looking at some of the stuff, and I'm comparing. When I don't have all the specs and I'm not real heavy into, checking the exact tolerances of things with micrometers and calipers, I just kind of eyeball it and go off of what is it that I'm looking at. So I know everything is done for a reason. So a lot of the folks that watch this are mechanics. You're already probably light years ahead of me and saying, you got to do this, do that, and I'm sure you're 100% correct. But never having done this before on this particular piece of equipment, I'm just kind of going to go off an eyeball. So if you come over here, I'll show you what I'm looking at. The edges on these outer hubs, this is where the tire and the rim go, and the outer, basically where the lug nuts and the hub are, which are down there. This was all jagged on both hubs. So in this one hub, I still have an outer bearing race that's still stuck in here, so I'm going to have to take that out here in a second. What I'm going to try to do in this video is not bore you to death with, what it looks like to do that. I'm sure everybody that would watch this would have some sort of construct of how this is going to happen. But what I am going to show you is, I noticed that a lot of the grease was caked on because dirt and everything got in here. So what I'm going to do is just grind it down real quick and show you the before and after. So I will show you this part. Safety goggles, please. All right. So if we look now, look at how more defined and clean that is. That's where our outer hub seal is going to go, and it's going to fit perfectly in here. Before, you couldn't even see where the edge was. So that's why I wanted to clean this out to determine, you know, what the next steps are. So I'm going to take this race out, and then we'll be back in a second. Alrighty, it's been an exciting 5 minutes, even though it's been hours on my side. I put together this assembly first because what I want to do is practice before I show you guys how bad and how difficult it is. So I say that half jokingly. We put a brand new outer O-ring in, a rubber O-ring. We put new shims, new bearings, 2 new bearings, a new oil seal, a new nylon seal that's on the other side, and don't worry because we're going to show you on the next one now that I know how it goes back together. I don't believe, I think there's a bottom and a top. I think the 2 closer ones are the top. The 2 bottom ones are wider spread apart, the sort of flanges. So we're going to put that on, and if you come in here, you're going to see where we're going to meet this up with the inner spline right there. So that's where we're going to basically put that in. To tighten this up, there's a little bit of wiggle room in these holes, and that'll allow us to slide it to tension the chain up or not. So the chain seems like it's still good. It's not too ridiculous. So we're going to use that chain again. I don't see any issues with it. As dark as this oil looks, like if you look at this oil, it looks disgusting. I actually just changed that, I don't know, probably 2 months, or maybe a month ago, and I barely used this since. So what happens is this oil just cakes up on the bottom. I didn't steam clean it out, and it just, as the chain goes through it, it just gets dirty. So bear with me, and we'll get this hub put back in. I'm gonna get some oil real quick and clean up these threads. And then I'll smack them on here. I don't know about you guys, I kind of like to use a little anti-seize on this stuff. Should I need to take it apart again? So I'm gonna use that instead of oil. For the most part, with my 1/2-inch impact, they came out okay. I didn't have too many problems. I just want to get a little bit of something that's lubricating, that when these things start to rust again, I can pull them off. And this thing here is probably, I don't know, if I was a guessing person, I'd say 50 pounds. So it came shipped with the lug nuts, or the studs, on here. I had to take them off, which I'll show you, to get the other assembly on. So on that note, now if I can find one more, we'll be in business. Here it is. All right. So I got everything in. It's about as tight as that chain's going to get. I'm going to find out. I think this is a 24 millimeter, wasn't it, Terry?
Yeah.
Go get my 24 millimeter, my gun, and a battery. I got this impact set on high, in case anybody wonders. And I got this all the way pushed to the back. Oh. Look at that, Terry. No play.
All right.
So this whole kit, my cost, not retail. Well, actually, let me say this again. My cost at retail, better way to say it, for all this, I have two kits basically that they made for me at New Holland out of Akron Tractor. He put this stuff together for me. And then one brand new axle shaft was $1,500 with tax. That's in Ohio with 8%, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I'm not going to show you the next part, but I am going to show you the rebuild of the hub because I didn't show you that yet. So I'll show you the next part you didn't see, and then I'm going to skip putting this side back on because I know you guys are pretty keen to know what it looks like because I just did it. Then what we'll do is we'll give her a test run and we'll see how it performs. So I'm excited to do that. Once we get that, we'll put this panel back on. Once I scrape this RTV off that we just put on here recently, we'll put a fresh batch of that on, and then we should be good to go. So in that note, I'll see you in another metaphoric 5 minutes. Hope to see you soon. So just so you know, I have the New Holland digital parts list that I was able to purchase from Akron Tractor. And this is how I know what's supposed to go in here. One of the misleading things is you have a 7 and a 6. I don't know if it's 7 or 6, but if you put all this together, it doesn't fit. In fact, if you put half all this together, it doesn't fit. So what we're going to do is start off, if you look at this, we're going to start putting this part together, okay? This number 8 ring, I have no idea where this goes. So I'm going to look again, see if I can figure it out. But the other one seemed to go together pretty good, but I had to just absolutely smash the crap out of it to get it to seat in. So I'm going to go get the axle that still is good. I'm going to take the old dust seal off with my handy screwdriver. So here's the old end cap oil seal. So we'll throw that puppy away. But yeah, there's no, that I can see, you know, unless it's this thing right here. There might be a ring that can go on there, I don't know. But I didn't see a place on the other one where it fit. So we'll take a look at that. So the first thing that the diagram, if we look at the diagram, calls for is the nylon ring first. The nylon ring, if you want to come over here with me, fits into this inner groove. All right, and we'll put it down into there. Snap it in. All right. The inner race is out. Clean that up a little bit. So I will get a bearing. And what's nice about these bearings, they don't change size, so it's the same bearing on the outer that's on the inner, which is cool. So just tap that in here nicely without mashing it all up. See that it's seated towards the bottom. Needs to go in more. I'm not hitting it hard. I'm being very, very, very gentle. I do have a bearing press, but I'm just lazy, I guess, and that's why I just don't feel like pulling it all out and putting it all together and all that kind of good stuff. So bearing goes in next. Voila. So nylon bearing, this is the ring, and for the love of me, I can't figure out where this ring is supposed to go. It doesn't seem like it fits anywhere. May go up here on the actual shaft, and then there's the actual dust ring here. So here's the brand new in-bag dust ring. And that little booger fits right in here. You know what I'm going to do before I go get crazy with this? I'm going to throw a little grease on it. That's what I think I'm going to do. Alright. And then I might even be convinced to throw some grease in here. There's a bunch of philosophies on packing bearings. I do think that they need packed, but I haven't noticed a whole big difference. We'll just wad up inside, and when it gets nice and warm, this grease and stuff will go right in there. Keep everything fresh. Perfecto. All right. So that pretty much killed that side. So now we'll go to the other side. And we're going to have to do some prep work on this. I see there's still a journal in there, so we will come back to you in just a second. All right, so we got that old race out of there. We're going to go to our really cool, the easiest part ever, rubber ring gasket. It's kind of loose, but what it does is it kind of pushes on the outer diameter of this recess right here. So that's the way it should look. That'll keep the 30 weight oil in the chain box in there and not leaking out all over the place. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and set it on top of the shaft. So that's the next operation. So that goes just about like this. And I will have to beat the crap out of this thing, pardon my vernacular, but I'm going to pause the recording for just a second while I get this thing seated properly. All right, welcome back. You have to have where this snap ring retainer is just past the taper of the inner housing. I'm a little out of breath because I've been beating this thing with a sledgehammer and on the floor for quite a while. I'm going to fill this up with like almost a tube of grease. So as we use the machine and it gets warmer, gets that grease in the bearings. The amount of grease I took out of this was ridiculous. They make bearing packers. I just use my hands. And then flood the well here with the grease. This now has to go over, and again you got to be really sensitive not to put too much force on this. But just ever little taps. I don't know if I have a socket big enough, we'll see. I don't think so. No. Sometimes you can put a socket over it, but with the spline the way it is, not so much. And if you took this to New Holland or a shop, I'm sure they would press this on or do something different. This is a do-it-yourself at home type of deal. I got a small press behind you there, if you want to take a look. But that small press is not going to do what I need it to do for this. It would be a challenge. So, it's just easier for me to do it this way. As long as I don't hurt anything, I should be in good shape. So that's on there. So now I'm going to look at these rings, and there's a variety of different rings. So when I took this off, all these rings were on it at one point. So I think I'm going to put one more wafer on. Then the C. Now my retainer. Missed in my kit was this retainer ring. I need these. So I saved the ones from before. And without these on there, you pretty much don't have a hub assembly. So with some outer snap ring pliers, I think these go up to 7" or 3" or something like that. You just walk it down, snap it in. It's got a great fit. And I think we're in business. So I told you I was not going to show you this next phase of it because it was basically just a mimic of what you already seen. And if you're like me, I watch a lot of stuff informationally to see how to do stuff. You know, if it's not me just going to bed at night watching something that's interesting, I just want to know real quick how to do it. You guys don't need a lecture series on all this. You know, a lot of folks just fast forward stuff just to get to what they want to see. So I'll put this on, and as soon as we're done, I'll get back with you. All right, gangsters, welcome back. Let's go take a look at what wheels look like when they're actually on it. So we got everything on, the chain's adjusted, the tension is as good as we can get it for having used chains. Okay, so I just wanted to give a shout out. I don't know if anybody on the channel or watching this is interested in how tugboats and maritime stuff works around like ports. For instance, New York, New Orleans, Bahamas. But there's a guy that I watch, and his name is Tim B at Sea. Tim, letter B at Sea. And I gotta tell you, the guy's cool as heck. Very knowledgeable, but very down to earth and very humble. Really, really recommend that. So I'm putting plugs in for Diesel Creek, Scrappy Industries, and Tim B at Sea because I really, really enjoy those people, what they have to say and what they do. So we got everything put back together. Now I'm going to try to get the wood shims and everything out of here. I'm going to see if I can do it just with the cage. Typically with skid steers, you can roll them back on a log or something, and then that becomes part of the jack. So we didn't quite do it that way with this, but let's see if we can get this out of the garage without blowing up. And then we have a special added feature where Terry, the camera guru, is going to change out a piece of metal for us. Can you get that wood, Terry? Just kick it out. And now we're going with the maiden voyage of the USS Cornerstone here. Pretty cool. The next thing I got to do is I got to do the other two bearings assemblies on the right side, and then the drivetrain will be good to go. All right, now I'm gonna weasel my way out of here, and I'll be back with you in 5 minutes with Terry at the wheel. See you in 5.
Got
All right.
2 nuts up front here, 2 bolts up front here. Use PB blaster on each. Now I'm just going to pop those off, hopefully. And they seem to be pretty loose, so I can take them off by hand now. Got one. Along the other side. Get this other one off. This is a plate for getting in and out of the skid steer. And
How much
it's
plate?
crashed off.
$140 plate?
Yeah.
What?
And we're going to get this back side here. It looks like we're going to have to cut these 2 off on the back side here. We'll take those 2 off and we'll get back in a second.
Oh, we're going to take them off. We're going to even show you a liquid wrench.
Okay.
Light me up, Terry.
All right.
Light me up, man. Try it again one more time, big buddy.
Okay.
Big buddy.
Try not to aim it towards me.
Ah.
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
All right. Well, that's showing them. That's showing them.
And then we have a new one here.
So what's going on back here, Terry? You were telling me about the keepers weren't in there.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to get those out.
Yeah, I see that.
Those are those little cheap metal tab retaining rings. So we're gonna have to put something in there for that. And then I think we can reuse the front.
So let's see.
So I'm gonna go get some hardware. Terry's gonna take these off and we'll be back in just a sec. 1, go.
Okay, we've already put the new plate on. We put 2 new screws in the back here. And we'll move around to the front where we'll put the other 2 screws in. We have 4 screws holding this plate on because when you get out, this is where you put all your weight. So it will be just a couple seconds and we'll have this done. Thanks for watching. And one on the other side. Up.
So we'll continue to do these series, and hopefully you'll see the progress in this. So far we've done a lot of work. First PM. I think some of the next stuff we're going to look at is basically getting the interior fixed up, as well as the hoses replaced, because the hoses are looking a little snaggly. So I know there's a window down there, so if you look kind of under where Terry's working right there, this used to be a glass window, and somebody disguised it and put a panel there, so that what that does is it ruins your visibility. So like Terry says, thanks for watching. If you enjoy what we got, hit the like button, subscribe. We're going to put this into high gear now. Everybody have a good Memorial Day weekend. Bye-bye.